2025 NBA season. No time to waste. Let's jump straight into it. So, guys, as you can see here, we have all of the point guards that are looking to start for each and every single team in the NBA. So, let's go ahead and jump into this, guys. No time to waste. Let me just change. There we go. Alrighty. So, to start us off, we got Tyrese Halliburton. So, Tyrese Halliburton, man, one of the most exciting young players in the league. Love what he brings to the floor in terms of basketball IQ. That's really where the majority of his praise comes from, because he's very special in regards to how he thinks about the game, how he's able to set up teammates and put them in the best position to succeed. Fantastic young player. He kind of regressed towards the end of last season. He really struggled with his shot, and that's kind of where he needs to improve. If you ask me first half of last season, where would I take Tyrese Halliburton? Take him in an S. Going into next season, though, I'm going to have to take him in an A. I do love him. But again, for those reasons, offensively, he really, really struggled. So I'm going to go ahead and take Bro with an A. But there's no telling that he can't be an S tier in the future. I mean, he's so young, future is so bright. I personally really believe in him, and I think he'll get to that S tier. So we got SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is a top 5 player in this league. Fantastic player. Has crazy bag work, shiftiness, very smart player, great team player, great teammate, nasty shot maker, tough shot maker. SGA is a problem. Shout out to him. He is for sure an S. I mean, one of the best players in this league that we have at the moment. Next up, we got Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, amazing player. He looks to be the starting point guard for the Denver Nuggets. That's what they have at the depth chart here. This guy is a fantastic, fantastic player. Again, great shot maker, tough shot maker, super elite, especially when it comes to playoff times. He has ice in his veins. He's just a born winner. Love what Jamal Murray brings to the table. Would I consider him an S tier? I'm not sure if he's as good as SGA. I'd say he's not. He's really, really good. I'll take him at an A. Shout out to Jamal Murray. Next up, Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, also a very exciting young player. This guy is only, I believe, 22 or 23 years old. He's already shown a lot. It's really tough for him, because he's on the Detroit Pistons and they don't really have much going for them right now. Everyone is young. I swear they're one of the youngest teams in the league. Everyone's got to be under 25, at least a majority of the players. I love what Cade Cunningham brings to the floor. He has a pretty good basketball IQ. He can stretch the floor. Sometimes he's pretty inefficient. But you know what I mean? He's going to be great for years to come. And I'm excited really to see where his growth comes in here going into next year. It's going to be year 4 for him. He's from that 2021 draft. Really love his game. I'm going to place him in an A. This guy's a killer. Great player. Next up, we got DeJounte Murray. I'm really just looking at it now and realizing how stacked these point guards are. This is incredible. So DeJounte Murray, great two-way player. He can get hot in a hurry on the offensive end, and he always gives you very sound defense. I give that over to the mentality and the mindset that was taught to him by Greg Popovich and that Spurs organization where he was drafted, obviously. Now he's with the New Orleans Pelicans. He's going to give them some additional defense on top of all their lengthy, rangy wing players that they have that are already good on defense. Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, guys like that, right? So I'm really excited to see what he does next year. Do great two-way threat. It's going to be awesome because CJ McCollum now moving down to the shooting guard position is really going to help CJ because he's not much of a point guard, where I think DeJounte Murray is more of a traditional point guard, I need to say. So I'm going to take him at A as well. De'Aaron Fox, super elite player. Clutch, very, very clutch. Great shiftiness to him. Great ball control. Great handle as well. He can stretch the floor. He's really crafty in how he goes about his game. He's really good with hesitation moves. He's really good on the crossover. He's really good at getting defenders off balance and using that to advantage to help himself and his team. This guy is so good. I'm going to take him at an A as well. Shout out to De'Aaron Fox. Next up, we got Fred VanVleet. So shout out to Fred VanVleet, the highest paid undrafted player of all time, former All-Star as well. Really, really fantastic player, but he's not quite on the level of these A-tier guys, Halliburton, Murray, Cunningham, another Murray, and De'Aaron Fox. I say he's just a notch below, but he's really, really good. He's a great player. He can defend as well as he has a great offensive game to him as well. Driving kick is great. He's really taken his playmaking to another level. I really like Fred VanVleet. He's going to go at B. Next up, Emmanuel Quickly. So going into the 24-25 NBA season, I think Emmanuel Quickly is going to be pretty high up here. I mean, the Toronto Raptors have made him their starting point guard going forward into the future, at least for the foreseeable future. He was a backup guard for the New York Knicks, as you guys know, and I just feel like now he had that opportunity to be the starting guard. It's gonna allow for him to grow, allow for him to take more shots, make more mistakes. You know what I mean? Just so that he can improve his game. So I love what Emmanuel Quickly is going to bring to the Raptors for years to come. I'm super high on him and what he's going to bring to the team. He's still only 24 or 25 years old, and I think there's a ton of room for him to grow still. Emmanuel Quickly is that guy. I'm thinking going into next year, Quickly will be like a high B / low A type of player. And I think he could even elevate past that going into the coming years. So I'm going to go ahead and take him at a B. I really love Emmanuel Quickly in his game. I sort of want to take him in an A, but he's not Halliburton, Murray, Cunningham, or Fox quite yet. He's got to bring that scoring up a little bit, I think. And of course, with that new, I feel and of course, I feel like he'll be able to do that. Next up, we have, wow, I took SGA twice. My goodness. Okay, never mind. So next up, we have Dennis Schroeder. So Dennis Schroeder, man, this guy's a good player. I have him here in his Oklahoma City Thunder uniform, but he's a Brooklyn Net. He's going to be the starting PG for the Brooklyn Net. He's decent. Like, he's a solid veteran. Like, he's a fringe starter type player. He's very serviceable. He's good at passing the ball. Great playmaker. Crafty for sure. Great at using the glass. Great with his finishing abilities as well. I like what he brings on both sides of the ball too. He can kind of be a pesky defender at times. So shout out to Dennis Schroeder. He's pretty decent, but I'm gonna take him out of C. He's not on the level of Fred VanVleet or Emmanuel Quickly, in my honest opinion. Next up, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has vaulted himself into an elite category of point guards now. Coming to the Knicks, first signing that contract that everyone thought was crazy. The contract turns out to be amazing. He ended up being just a star, a complete star on this team. Dallas messed up moving him, but hey, it's working out for them because they got Kyrie Irving now, so no hate to them or anything like that. But Jalen Brunson is a very smart player. He's a player that can get hot at any point in the game. He's very clutch, ice in his veins. His isolation moves and his bag work is really something special. I love watching him play. He is such a dynamic playmaker and scorer. He's undersized, so just to see how he's able to read off of the defense and make the right read or get to the basket, it's so cool to watch. He's one of the most skillful players in this NBA. He's an S tier for sure. Jalen Brunson is a problem. Josh Giddey, new Chicago Bull. Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, they realize they're closer to contending than they may have realized. I think cutting a guy like Josh Giddey was a good move for them. They needed more shooting and they needed more defense. And I think Alex Caruso brings a pretty decent three-point shot, as well as elite defense on the wing and at the guard positions. So this was a great move for both teams. Josh Giddey to the Chicago Bulls, though, for next year is going to provide some good playmaking. It's going to provide a space for him where it's not super log jammed with a ton of young talent. So he's going to be able to showcase some of his moves and showcase what he's made of and his skill sets. And he's going to be allowed to make mistakes. And he had almost no room for failure with the OKC Thunder. And now with the Chicago Bulls, he has that. I think he's going to improve. I'm not super high on him. I feel like he needs to continue to build his frame, become more physical, get better at driving into the paint. I find he settles on a lot of his possessions, but the playmaking is there. The IQ seems to be there. But going into next year, I will take him at a C, even though he could surprise people. Definitely could end up vaulting into a B. Next up, we have James Harden, re-signed with the Clippers here. I think that was a good move for them. He's still super serviceable. He can still get you a ton of buckets in a hurry. His playmaking is still elite. He's even worse defensively now than he was in the past because he's older. He's not as quick as he was before. I like James Harden though still, and I'm gonna take him in a B going into next season. This isn't a career ranking, guys. Otherwise, it'd be an S. I'm gonna take him in a B. I still think he's pretty good. You could even, if he shows me more, he could be an A. But I'm gonna estimate that maybe he might take a minor step back going into next year and be like a B type player because he's starting to get a bit older. Kyrie Irving hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. Craziest handle probably ever. Great facilitator, great playmaking ability, great finishing ability, can stretch the floor. Apparently, he's just great to have in the locker room as well. He's the type of player that requires a certain level of respect from a front office. And I feel like a lot of people have the wrong impression of him. It's my opinion. Might not be yours. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Kyrie Irving, I am going to place him at an S tier because he is still an elite offensive talent. One of the best I think we've ever seen. Next up, Mike Conley Jr. He is the perfect point guard for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. He's a great veteran. He can pass the ball. He has great basketball IQ. He can set up guys like Rudy Gobert, the lob threat, the lob capability, and the pick and roll options between those two are amazing. Even with him in cap, he's able to dish out to Jaden McDaniels and dish out to an Anthony Edwards, one of the other rising stars in this league. It just fits perfectly, and I feel like he's so good in his role. He's not really looking to score. I find he's looking to pass. He's looking to set up guys and get them in the best position to succeed. I think he's still going to average a ton of assists, but he's not the offensive talent that James Harden still is. But he in terms of team fit, he's like an A. In terms of individual talent, which is what we're rating here, I'm going to put him at a C. He's still very good, right? He can still get you those assists. He still play makes, but the scoring I feel like has taken a dip. So for that reason, I'll put him at a C. Next up, John Morant, another elite point guard, verticality, finishing ability, passing. Pesky defender. He's not a great defender, but he's pesky. He can get in the passing lanes a little bit. Because of his quickness and his verticality, he's able to intercept passes and things of that nature. He can get out in transition, make the right read, obviously sky over defenders and jam the ball. So he's very exciting, and I'm always super excited to see his game. And he's a perennial all-star. I think it's right to put him in an S tier with the rest of those guys, SGA, Brunson, Kyrie. Next up, Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs, great defender, good offensive talent. Love what he brings to the floor on both sides of the ball. He is a good young player, and he's just getting better. He dealt with a bunch of injuries in the beginning of his career. I know he's only going into year 4, but year 1 and 2 were really tough for him. But year 3, he came out and he's been really solid. I really love what he's been bringing to this team. And I feel like in terms of an individual skill set, I would still place him at a C because he's still really good, but he's not quite on the level of like a Freddie Quickly or a James Harden. All right, guys, next up, we got Chris Paul. Chris Paul now with the San Antonio Spurs is going to be amazing for a guy like Victor Wembanyama to play with a player as sharp on the court as Chris Paul. He's going to be able to show him a ton about the game. It's amazing going into year 2 for Wemby. He's going to be able to work with CP3. I think that was a fantastic move done by the Spurs organization to bring him in here. They really needed a pure point guard, somebody who's going to facilitate, and they brought in the points god. So shout out to CP3. And just because of his elite basketball IQ, I will place him in a B just because he is obviously an all-time great. I can't disrespect him and put him in a C. He is older. He's not what he used to be, but the B-ball IQ is probably one of the best that we've seen in NBA history. Next up, Tyus Jones. So I looked at the depth chart for the Phoenix Suns, and they're saying that Tyus Jones will not start. I do not think that's going to be the case by the beginning of the year because what we've noticed from that Phoenix Suns starting lineup when they're rolled out with KD, Devin Book, Brad Beal, I think Nurkic, and the final player is escaping me. Grayson Allen, probably. I noticed that there's nobody there really looking to just go out there and pass. Find these elite players that they have on the team, elite offensive talents, and find them and put them in the best position to succeed. I don't think starting Book at the uh, point guard position, which is what the depth chart says on ESPN, is the right way to go. I think they're going to ultimately rethink about this. Again, I don't. I think this is just what ESPN thinks. I don't think this is actually what's going to be rolled out. But I think Tyus Jones will start. He is that player that if you need him to score, cool. He can give you a cool 10 to 16 a night on an average. And then, but if you need him to pass, he's one of the most underrated passers in the league. And he's a very selfless player. And you saw that from how often he was trying to set up Jordan Poole, how often he was trying to set up Kyle Kuzma last year, even in a backup role with the Memphis Grizzlies. You saw how he was trying to set up guys, and he wasn't really there to score it. Like he's perfect. Like he knows his role. So I think he's going to be a really good player for the Phoenix Suns. And unfortunately, he kind of got. It was a weird offseason for him, and he only got the vet minimum to go to the Phoenix Suns. But I think this year is going to be a good year to kind of prove his worth to teams and show that he's worth like a starting point guard role. Maybe not a championship starting point guard role, but again, if you have KD, D Book, Beal, you never know how far things can go if you have a Tyus Jones on your roster. And I just think that was such an amazing move. So shout out to them on putting Tyus in a B. Next up, we got Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton is a good player. He has incredible speed. He has pretty good playmaking ability. He can shoot the shot. He has an improved shot. I like him a lot, and I think he's a solid player. Offensively, very, very gifted. He can put up 20 plus, no problem. But I am going to take Colin Sexton probably in a C. I like him, but I don't think he's on a B tier. Basketball IQ is a little questionable at times, and the defense is non-existent. So I'm a two-way guy. These offensive talents are amazing, but I need players that will make the other players around them better, especially in a point guard position. That's very important. Drew Holiday, obviously incredibly elite. Both actually on the defensive end. On the offensive end, he can hold his own, no doubt, shoot the three, but the passing ability, the defense, oh my goodness, he's constantly voted the best defender in the league year after year by the players, even though he doesn't win the Defensive Player of the Year. I find they're giving that more to big men. Of course, he's a point guard / shooting guard. Drew Holiday is an A. He's so good, 2-time champ. Oh, I love watching this game. The defense is just great. Next up here we have Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is a good player, very serviceable player. Can get you buckets in a hurry again, but next up, we have Terry Rozier. So shout out to Scary Terry, as they call him. He's a really good player. He's an offensive talent, an offensive savant, we can say. He gets a bit streaky. He has inefficiency woes at times, but make no mistake, he can hit a ton of threes in a hurry. He can get buckets and get to a spot when he needs to. But he doesn't offer much on the defensive end. And as a point guard, I don't know how he's going to fare with the Miami Heat. He's more of a shooting guard type player to me, but that starting shooting guard spot is occupied by Tyler Hero. So he will be the PG is what I'm imagining. And I like it. I don't love it, but I think he's a B talent because of that offensive game. If he's able to find a way to pass the ball a little bit more and facilitate, then he's etched into a B. And I think the Miami Heat are going to ask him to do just that because the scoring is great, but they need him to facilitate. All right, guys. Next up, we have Darius Garland. Darius Garland, already a former All-Star. He had a tough season last season. To begin last season, he was injured. And then when he came back, it was kind of tough for him to get going. He dealt with some inefficiency woes. But we've seen what he's capable to do. He's one of the best young point guards in this league. He's still very, very young. I think he's only like 23 or 24. So I love what he brings to the floor. I mean, he's in a good year, he's a great offensive talent. He really is, and he can really pass the ball. He's efficient from the free throw line. He does everything well. He sees the game the right way. He's a good presence on and off the court. So it seems I'm gonna take him at an A. I love Darius Garland. Next up, we have Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon, man, he's on the Wizards now, I believe, and he's good. He's a good player. Um, he can really defend. He can get after it offensively too. He can put up some buckets. He's just very solid all around. I feel like he's a great, like wherever he's gone, he's just done the right thing. He's played the game the right way. He's been a good veteran, and I think he deserves to be in this C tier here. I feel like he's like a fringe starter type player, and I feel like he meshes well with like the rest of these players that I put here. Yeah, yeah, that's how I feel. Next up, we got Trey Young. Trey Young, offensively elite, no doubt about it. Really can shoot the three ball. All right, next up we got Trey Young. Trey Young, fantastic young player. Still only 25, 26. He still has room to grow. Defense, not his strength. His strength is on the offensive end, and his strength is his playmaking ability. Both of those are elite, elite, elite. Um, a lot of people might put him at an A. Trey Young to me is an S tier player. He just is. He just is. Next up, D'Angelo. Of course, drop a comment. Let me know if you don't think he's an S tier player. Next up, D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, he's solid. He'll give you a good 15 to 18 a game. He gets too much slack on the Lakers, of course, because they think he's supposed to be doing more than he does. But we know who D'Lo is at this point in his career. He's 27, 28 years old. We mostly know what he's going to bring to the floor. He's not really much of a defender. He's a pretty good passer, and a pretty good offensive talent, although he's a bit streaky. And again, that's why the Lakers fans get on him, because he'll have an amazing game and then he'll have a not so great game where he won't hit many shots. But I like D'Lo, and I think he's pretty decent. I will place him in a. I'd probably take him in a B. Next up, Damian Lillard. Don't really have to say too much. The guy beside him, Steph Curry, those are two of the best shooters we've ever seen. Obviously, offense is their thing, defense not so much. Um, Dame Dollar clutch, Dame time, amazing playoff performer. It's just like he levels up in those environments, and there's no doubt that he's not an S tier player. Next up, Steph Curry. What is there to say? Finals MVP, 4-time champ, Team USA, best shooter ever. Not much else to say. S tier. Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson is a good young player. He really, really, really struggled last year's first year with Portland. Of course, he was the number 3 pick for the Blazers, if I'm not mistaken. Listen, I think that he's going to improve. I think that it was his rookie season, and people are already counting him out and saying he's a bust and whatever. I don't agree with that. I think this guy is a stud. I think he's going to be really good. He's got that Ja Morant-like verticality. He's got a decent finishing ability. He just needs to work on his shot. That's really his issue, because he was not really getting many of them in. And the turnovers, those were a big issue as well. So going into next season, I hope he can improve. I'll take him in a B just because that potential is absurd. He's a starting PG, so I just feel like he'll get better as the year goes on, and he'll become more efficient. And yeah, I just feel like he has all the tools to succeed, and for that, I'm being optimistic. I'll place him in a B. I know last year he probably played like a C, but I'll place him in a B going into next year. LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball. Really like LaMelo Ball and what he brings to the court in terms of his flair, his offensive, his shot making ability, his playmaking ability. Love LaMelo Ball. Defense is not really there, but this guy, when he's healthy, when he's on the court, he's a double-digit assist threat every single night. He's a 25 plus point per game performer on a regular basis. I will take LaMelo Ball at an A for sure. Next up, Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey, man, from the beginning, I always looked at Tyrese Maxey. I'm like, he's going to be really good. Shout out to Tyrese, still young, 23, 24 years old. Really good young player, offensively very gifted, clutch, ice in his veins. Just amazing that the Philly organization was able to snag him and extend him. And it's just he's really good, and he's going to be one of the game's best guards for years to come. And he still can. I'm just like kind of at a loss for words because he can still get better. I'm a big fan of Tyrese and love his game. Really love his game. I'm gonna take him at an A. And that is it actually because I had SGA twice. So yeah, there's what, 7 players here: 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we did get all 30 teams in here, guys. I feel like I had some debatable calls with this one, I can't lie. But I feel like mostly it's pretty solid. Please drop a comment. Let me know if you had any disagreements. It's in my opinion, of course. It's not gold. It's just what I think. Appreciate you guys for tuning in once again. This was the ranking the starting point guards going into the 2024-25 NBA season for every single team. Franchise players. We out of here. Peace.